sol se esconde, se pierde en la oscuridad, no hay horizonte que nos pueda guiar, no lo puedes ver, si sigues te vas a perder. No vamos pa' ningún lugar, dando mil vueltas sin parar. Dime yo, baby, pa' dónde vas, coge tu camino, baby, coge tu camino ya. Escoge tu camino, que ya no quiero adivinar, ni que quiere el destino. Esto me duele, siempre pa'lante y pa' atrás, te vas y vuelves, ya nadie puede volar, no lo puedes ver, si sigues te vas a perder, ya no se puede, baby, no vamos pa' ningún lugar, dando mil vueltas sin parar. Dime ya, baby, pa' dónde vas, coge tu camino, baby, coge tu camino ya. Escoge tu camino, que ya no quiero adivinar, lo que quiere el destino. Voy con mi camino, el sol se empieza ya a asomar, recojo y me despido. Dime pa' dónde que vamos y nunca llegamos pa' ningún lado, bebé, pa' ningún lado, bebé. Dime pa' dónde que vamos y nunca llegamos pa' ningún lado, bebé, pa' ningún lado, bebé. No vamos pa' ningún lugar, dando mil vueltas sin parar. Dime yo, baby, pa' dónde vas, coge tu camino, baby, coge tu camino ya. Escoge tu camino, que ya no quiero adivinar. Cojo mi camino, que ya no va a haber marcha atrás.
Performing live for the World Cafe, Buscabulla with El Camino. Buscabulla are Luis Del Valle and Raquel Barrios. Their new album is called Se Amabe Así. Luis and Raquel are my guests today. Welcome to the World Cafe.
Thank you so much for
Hi.
having us.
Yeah,
I'm so
thank you
happy
so
to
much.
have you here. I guess the best place to start maybe would be to explain the concept behind this album, because there is a sort of a theme that runs through the whole thing.
Yeah. I think that we wanted to make a romantic record. We've never really made one. We also feel that romance is sort of dead nowadays. And also, so we decided to kind of take inspiration in ourselves. I mean, we have been a band and a couple. We have an 11-year-old, and we kind of were going through a difficult time in our relationship, and we decided to write about it, which is kind of crazy because I remember telling Luis the concept, and he was like, no way.
No, I don't want to do that. Why are you making me do that? No, but it ended up being cool. Like, I think I was a little hesitant at first, I think, because we never really have talked about ourselves in the music. It's always been sort of either an introspective thing or exterior sort of subject matter. But obviously getting down and dirty and intimate is like intimidating. But, you know, all the artists that I like and that we admire, I think do that. You know, they're honest and they're vulnerable and they explore that sort of shadow, you know, which is cool to go through and see what comes out at the other end.
So Raquel, how did you eventually convince Luis that you should do it?
It was very hard. I had already sort of started writing my songs, and I mean, organically. I mean, this is what I was feeling, this is what I was going through. And I said, I feel that you should write and sing on this record so that you can sing songs from your side of the story. I mean, I think that it'd be cool. And there was a lot of hesitation. But eventually, when he started writing songs, they were really good. Yeah. And I was like really surprised. And I think maybe that's what helped you kind of convince you.
No, I'm still not convinced entirely, to be honest. Yeah, I think, what convinced me was the music, She would come up with ideas, and usually she'll come up with like a seed of an idea, and show it to me, and we can develop it together, And there was enough of those, and they were strong, They had some weight, and there were some really good songs she just wrote all by herself, and it was, like kind of undeniable, like, oh, this is gonna have to be what it is, you know what I mean? Like, so it's just I sort of followed the weight of the music,
I'm talking to Buscabulla on World Cafe. We're going to hear you perform another song. And Luis, this is one that you sing, and you sing on the album for the first time. There's 2 songs. The one that we're going to hear is called El Empuje. Could you talk a little bit about this song and tell us what you're singing about here?
Sure, yeah. So El Empuje is like this sort of colloquial phrase in Puerto Rico where it means sort of like the pressure, like to hold under pressure, I guess, right? And I think the person in this song is realizing that they don't know if they're able to withstand this sort of pressure. It's a little too much, and it came from this conversation, we had, and sort of this fight, and she was like, well, if you can't handle it, then what are you gonna do, and it sort of inspired me to be like, well, I guess that's an interesting proposition in a relationship. It's sort of like, it is love, it is like all these positive things, but there is a lot of work to it, and there's a lot of there can be some pressure, and some can handle it, some is handleable, and some is not,
Well, let's hear it, and we'll come back and we'll talk some more. This is El Empuje from Buscabulla on World Cafe.
Solo son palabras que flotan en el aire, llegan hasta mí sin quererla oír, con toda tu ira y toda tu herida y ganas de sufrir y hacerme a mí sufrir. Dime si tú sabes si esto va a seguir así, no puedo. Dime si tú sabes que me muero por tu amor. Aguanta el empuje, se aguanta que es duro vivir. Te exprime, te vira al revés. El empuje está duro, bebé. No sé si yo seré quien va a aguantar este empuje. Son fantasmas que flotan por la casa y no nos dejan dormir, nunca quieren salir, con toda la ira y toda la herida y ganas de sufrir y hacerme a mí sufrir. Dime si tú sabes si esto va a seguir así, no puedo. Dime si tú sabes que me muero por tu amor. Aguanta el empuje, se aguanta que es duro vivir. Te exprime, te vira al revés. El empuje más duro, bebé. No sé si yo seré quien va a aguantar este empuje.
Buscabulla performing a song from their new album, Se Amaba Así, called El Empuje. I'm Raina Douris on World Cafe, joined by Raquel and Luis of Buscabulla. This album is about yourselves. It's about your relationships. Luis, I know that you watched a bunch of Lindsey Buckingham interviews to wrap your head around this project. What did you get out of that? Talk about that a bit for me.
Yeah, I watched a lot of Lindsey Buckingham videos because I've always loved Fleetwood Mac and I've always admired Lindsey Buckingham and what he did on that record, but I really on Rumors and Tusk. But I really wanted to get in there. I wanted to see what his experience was like because it was similar in a way to what we had been going through. Lindsey Buckingham, I don't know if you know, but he was sort of invited into Fleetwood Mac because of his guitar prowess. He was a producer and all that stuff. And he was like, well, look, if you're going to hire me, you're also going to hire my girl. And she sings and writes songs, and she's amazing. And she gave Fleetwood Mac their first #1 in years. So Lindsey had to sort of navigate a situation where essentially, Stevie became this household name, and he was sort of in the background as a producer, and they were breaking up the whole time, and they were having this really intense sort of relationship dynamic, which they would live out on stage every night, and and sort of they'll sing and at each other, and they sound like they're having an argument on stage, but it's powerful, and I felt like it was important to harness that, to sort of, I guess, do a Buckingham in here, you know what I mean?
Well, as romantic and creative partners, you kind of have to walk this line sometimes, and I am curious about how you set boundaries between, and maybe you don't, but between your creative work and your, when you're at home, when you're just together with your family.
Yeah. I think that honestly, all that we've ever said is that it's just been really hard.
Yeah.
You try to, but there's going to be seasons where, first of all, being a musician is right now, independent musician, it's a lot of hard work. You know what I mean? It can really consume you.
Mm-hmm.
It's also sort of our livelihood. We have a daughter. There's so many things. And honestly, sometimes it has been hard, and it's hard to say where are the boundaries. I guess sometimes we did it better and sometimes we didn't, but it's a hard thing. Sorry, anybody who's ever been in a band with their boyfriend, with their girlfriend, it's just been hard. And I guess we've have a lot of songs written about that throughout history. And I guess in this case, it's I guess this is sort of the Latin alternative version of that in this day and age. This is this is what we bring to the table. And what we ended up doing is that we just sort of integrated more of sort of the Latin sounds and the whole sort of catalog of romantic songs of Latin America in trying to sort of portray this sort of more modern relationship of of work and love and also parenthood, and that's kind of what we did. But when people ask us about boundaries, it's well, you know what? It was very hard to set them. And I can't say that it's we had it figured out. It's very difficult. And I think for anybody that has been in a band with their boyfriend or girlfriend, I think it would be a lie to say that it has been easy, because it isn't.
Mm-hmm. You just touched on so many things that I want to ask you about there. I'm speaking with Buscabulla on World Cafe, and I do want to talk about some of the other important people who influenced this album, like your father.
Yeah.
Raquel, who had a great collection of records.
Yeah.
And I know that was part of what inspired this. What are some of your memories of music your dad would play around the house when you were young?
Yeah. Oh man, my dad was just a crazy music fan, record collector. When I was young, he'd played me a lot of LPs, and my dad had a very big collection, salsa, calypso, trio music, rock, Dylan, just a lot of music, jazz. It was honestly, clearly the Beatles and, Rolling Stones, but he had a very wide net of
loved
music that he loved in general. He played guitar and played cuatro, a traditional guitar from Puerto Rico. And yeah, I think that when he passed away, I had both of these feelings where I felt that I started observing a little bit about how his love life had been with my mom and his family and the choices that he had made. And then I was also looking at all the music that he sort of left me. It was sort of a both things really influenced me, and I think that's what sort of triggered wanting to make this album about sort of bringing stuff from the past and sort of how much of the way people loved we still have nowadays, how much of that we have to reject, how much do we take with us. So yeah, my dad was a big influence, and I think his death also made me really reflect on how short life is and how we have to really kind of live it to the fullest, love to the maximum, and just be a better person. You know what I mean? Like, really work on yourself and just to be a better person, to be able to love better.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned the big romantic songs. And I think earlier in this interview, you said how romance is dead. and these big romantic songs were really something that resonated with you. Why do you think they were so powerful to you?
I think there's a longing for the way that people used to love each other, and I mean, maybe some people will call it sort of like martyrdom. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah, right. Martyrdom.
You got it.
But there was something really beautiful about somebody really giving themselves to love and making sacrifices. It feels like now everybody's very individualistic, and some people choose to sort of just be single and sort of have love in their lives. And I guess there's a sadness to that. I guess I'm trying to understand that. At the same time, some of those songs also seem really sappy and very, outdated and kind of funny and ridiculous, but there's still both an admiration and also like kind of like a funny thing about these love songs. But I still wanted to integrate some of that. I feel that people want some kind of romance, or they still feel moved by that. I don't think that I think that there's an honest longing for it, because we really don't have that anymore.
Yeah. Could you maybe choose a song or an artist from your father's record collection that really gets that like melodramatic romance idea across that we could play a clip of?
I mean, what do you say would be good from his collection? There's a lot of beautiful trio music. Maybe one from Paquitín could be good. Actually, that's really good. We actually sample that one. Se Vende un Corazón by Paquitín Soto. I could write it down for you. It's sort of talking about how his heart is on sale, but he's only gonna sell it to the person that will give him like true love.
Se vende un corazón, no arriendo ni lo alquilo, porque la que me lo compre debe casarse conmigo. Ay, se vende un corazón.
And it's about like how important it was to marry back then, and how he really wanted true love, because it seemed that at the moment also a lot of people married because of convenience or because of self-interest, and he was like, I want real love. And I thought that was really cute.
Yo lo vendo por cariño, cariño que necesito. Quien me compre el corazón, quien me compre el corazón, debe casarse conmigo.
I'm talking to Buscabulla on World Cafe. In the title track of your new album, Se Amaba Así, you sing about your father and your mother's relationship. It isn't necessarily a happy song.
Yeah.
It's an honest song.
Yeah.
Why did you want to make that the title track?
Yeah. I think the title really worked with the rest of the record. Se Amaba Así is both sort of, Se Amaba Así is in the past. It's like the way that they loved. So there's something interesting about playing with the past and the present and the future. I mean, we're sort of referencing a lot of old songs in the record. We're sort of fusing the old with the new. And I think it's interesting because it's kind of like once the record is made, like that's the way that Luis and I loved each other, or maybe that's the way that my parents loved each other. I think that there's a lot that you can get out of the title because it's sort of open-ended. It also sounds like the name of a Spanish soap opera. Se Amaba Así. Yeah, I also feel that it's a central song. I think that the song really focuses on how you look at the past, how you learn to love, and how the whole idea is for you to sort of recognize the patterns that no longer work for you and how you really need to change to become a better lover,
Yeah. I'm going to play a bit of it right now so we can hear it.
Yo fui de piedra, el de papel, y un día cansado él se fue, y ahí fue que yo lo comprendí, la misma historia repetí. Y yo no sé por qué nunca lloré, si así lo vi, me acostumbré, pensaba que se amaba así, se amaba así.
So that was a bit of Se Amaba Así from Buscabulla. You can hear your daughter in the outro to that song. She improvises the vocals there. And I thought that was an interesting decision to have her voice on this song where you start out singing about your parents and you kind of bring the generations together there. Why did you want her on that one?
I think it's sort of the cycles. I mean, what they say now, and there's a lot of sort of focus, especially on like new age Instagram and TikTok, about sort of transgenerational trauma and the sort of the bad things we learn about our parents, and if we don't heal them, they can carry on to our children. And I guess I wanted to include her in the song because in a way there is sort of I don't think it's neither. I don't think it's, I don't know exactly. I think her presence is important to kind of remind ourselves that she is that person that we're sort of handing off this way that we love. Yeah. And in a way, I think I put her there as sort of maybe as a witness to kind of like, I don't know, how I wanted to make it better. You know, in this song, I'm recognizing something. Sometimes recognizing our bad patterns, our shadows is really hard. And in recognizing that, those are the people that can really transcend and evolve. And I guess I really wish that for myself and for our family and for her, you know. I want her to have a happy life, you know. So I guess I wanted to include her in that because of that.
I'm talking to Buscabulla on World Cafe. You were both born and raised in Puerto Rico, and then you met in Brooklyn and then returned to Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria to help rebuild. What was it like returning to Puerto Rico after living in Brooklyn for several years?
It was, we were really happy. I mean, our daughter was about 4, and we really wanted her to grow up there, like speak the language, be close to my dad, be close to Luis's mom. So I was happy, but then clearly when you've been out of, you know, living outside of Puerto Rico for a while, you'd start sort of idolizing it. I mean, clearly you only think about the beaches and the nice times, but returning after Hurricane Maria was rough. I mean, the country was still sort of running, you know, very haphazardly. I mean, everything was still crooked, and it took some time, and it was sort of shocking to be back. And it was like, oh my God, wait. So it was both bittersweet. And I think that's a lot of what we wrote about on our first record, how there was a bittersweetness and excitement to be back, but there was also a lot of a confrontation of feelings about like, oh, I see this place is very imperfect, but it was our home, you know. And in a way, the record sort of spoke about how we also had to kind of accept our flaws, but understand that it's ourselves, you know. And that's the same way that I felt about Puerto Rico, you know, like it's a very chaotic place, you know. There's clearly a lot of issues, political issues, corruption, a lot of issues with sort of just like the way that the electrical grid happens. It's not an easy place. It's getting gentrified. It's harder for locals to stay. We have the lowest birth rate. You know, it's not an easy place, and it's still the place where we want to stay and make music and bring up our daughter, you know. So it wasn't easy, but it's still the place we want to be. It's been 8 years and counting, and like I wouldn't be anywhere else.
Yeah. That album in 2020, Regresa, you released that also. There's another catastrophe happened not too long after you moved, and that was the pandemic. And then there was a moment after releasing that where you weren't sure if you were going to keep pursuing this music career. Where were you, and what turned things around?
Well, yeah, I mean, at some point, you know, we released this record in May of 2020. We had a whole tour planned throughout the United States and Europe, and that all got canceled. So we sort of just turned into producer, you know, remixers for like a year. And after a while, it just seemed apparent. It's like, I don't know if the world's ever going to go back to normal. We might just have to find another route to make a living. And it was around Easter Sunday, and we got a call or a DM in the Instagram from Bad Bunny's producer, and on Easter Sunday. So yeah, he was saying, look, I have this track. It'd be perfect for you guys. Do you want to hear it? And before we knew it, we were on FaceTime with Bad Bunny himself while we were in pajamas, and he was all dressed up like a rock star in the studio. And it's like, yeah, I want you to write the chorus. I've got an idea, but you write the chorus and then produce the end of it, make it 12 minutes if you want. And he just gave us all this freedom to do whatever we wanted on this really cool track that he sort of built in the flavor of Buscabulla, which was very
And little
fun.
did we know that it would end up being like the Latin Thriller of Spotify.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the record itself was such a massive
It's a
deal
record-breaking record, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I guess that turned everything around. I mean,
that told us, yeah, I guess keep making music.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's Andrea from Bad Bunny featuring Buscabulla on World Cafe.
Se ponen a hablar y conmigo verán, no van a joder. Que digan lo que sea. Yo subo y bajo como la marea. Se tratan de montar y tambalean. Quiero a alguien que se atreva y me entienda bien.
Una loca que no quiere un loco, quiere vino tinto y sushi de yoko.
Well, that track, when I checked it just before we came in here, has like almost 1 billion streams if you add it up on YouTube and like Apple Music and Spotify. It's massive. How did it change your confidence in yourselves, and how did it change you creatively?
Yeah. I think it was very validating to me, honestly. I think it was validating that we were on the right path. Because, I mean, it was interesting when we would speak to Benito, Bad Bunny. He said, you guys really touched me with that record. So it wasn't so much about whether or not it was like, like he liked the song or not. It's like he was just touched by the fact that we sort of made a record about coming back home, and like everything, the message was sort of telling people, yes, everybody wants to leave the island, but we want to come back. I think it was touched by that. And I think that sort of made me feel that like, that our artistry was valid in a way. I mean, it's not that I never thought that I did, but the fact that we could touch somebody at that level that could really amplify that message meant a lot, and I think it was validating. I think it was also my dad sort of was able to see us in that light right before he passed away. So to me, it was sort of saying, I think this is our calling. I mean, I think this is what we should be doing, even though it's clearly very hard. And it takes a lot of sacrifice. I mean, to me, it was like, yeah, this is what we should be doing.
My guests today are Buscabulla on World Cafe, and we're going to hear you perform another song now from the new album, and it's called Te Fuiste, which translates to You Left. What can you tell us about this song before we hear it?
It's a sassy song about sort of when things don't really work out in a relationship, and it's this sort of craziness about like, what was it? Was it like communication? Was it like, you didn't understand me, like when you're sort of thinking about like, were we too young? Like there's a lot of sort of questioning around why it happened. And I think I also wanted to lean into a bit of a sort of the sassiness and the craziness and, in a way of sort of coping with sort of when a person is sort of deciding to leave. But there's also a lot of longing, and there's a lot of sort of questioning, like, can we make it better? Is it too late to get back? But mostly I think I wrote it as sort of a catharsis in the record about like, oh my God, like what happened,
Yeah. Would you say that's true for a lot of these songs, that there's a catharsis?
Yeah, I think they're all extremely cathartic. I mean, I'm pretty sure for you too, but
Yeah, no, for sure.
yeah,
100%.
yeah.
Here's Te Fuiste, Buscabulla live for the World Cafe.
conociste, te enamoraste, luego te mudaste. Así vivimos y fue muy lindo, pero botaste la chate. No dormimos, cuál fue la clave, tenía mucho que darte. Esto es un chiste, o es un arte, lo de comunicarse. ¿Dónde está el amor que un día supimos tener? Dime si es posible olvidarnos del ayer. Tú no entendiste o lo ignoraste, lo malinterpretaste. Pero tú fuiste y me dejaste, bebé, me fallaste. No sé tan fino, íbamos pa'lante, pero tú cocoteaste. Fuimos dos niños que nunca aprendimos algo a romance. ¿Dónde está el amor que un día supimos tener? Dime si no es tarde ya para volver. ¿Por qué te perdiste? ¿Por qué te quitaste? Mi vida no escape, no sabes lo mal que me hace. Dime tú cómo veo la Dime si no hay, no me dices por qué, no me dices por qué. Yo te quiero, no te quiero ver. Pero te fuiste y me dejaste y me fallaste. Te fuiste y me dejaste, bebé, me fallaste. Te fuiste y me dejaste y me fallaste. Te fuiste y me dejaste, bebé, me fallaste. Te fuiste y me dejaste.
You're listening to World Cafe. I'm Raina Douris. My guests today are Raquel and Luis of Buscabulla. That was a live performance of their song, Te Fuiste. Buscabulla are Luis del Valle and Raquel Berrios, and they've been my guests today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Raina.
much for having us. This is really fun.
I'm Raina Douris. Back in a moment with more World Cafe.